I fasted for 13 days. I didn't eat or drink.
And then we met a Thai Buddhist nun.
How have you existed for more than 10 years and haven't recorded anything even once? We've given over 500 concerts.
How it works is unclear.
Our podcasts are about talking about what is most loved and most interesting. It's usually easiest to do this when you are engaged in something, and the main thing for us is to get to that point. Usually, we ask you to start by introducing yourselves and telling us what you do.
I'm Nadezhda.
I'm Grigory, and together we are Aura. You could say it's a family project, since we've been married for 20 years. We have a son, and we raised him on the islands. The project was actually born right there. It came from our spiritual practices and meditations. That's how the Aurara project was born. And it's not just music, mantras, or performance. It's also a lifestyle. It's gongs, the study of sound, retreats, and silence.
It turns out the project was born even more out of our lifestyle. We wanted to be together not just as a family, but also creatively.
Where did it all start? Before Thailand, you must have had some kind of active social life.
Well, I can tell you my musical life with sound started in childhood. It began with classical school. In my youth, I fell in love with rock music. I dedicated my life to professional rock music. I had several bands. At one point, I felt like I had achieved success. I felt like I had reached everything I dreamed of in rock music. I had my own studio with friends, a band, tours, albums, everything I had wished for.
When we met, Grisha was a rock star to me. He shone on stage, and of course, I couldn't help but fall in love.
But then our son was born and we started a family. I realized that this rock and roll life didn't match our worldview anymore. It didn't match mine. I started getting into yoga and meditation. I became a vegetarian. Even many of the rock guys in our band became more conscious. They cut out alcohol and went vegetarian. A lot of new information started coming in. This was the mid-2000s. I'm talking about 20 years ago now. At some point, we started feeling drawn to nature. This, of course, also suggested that we needed to change something. Ultimately, we decided to change our lives radically. In 2012, we moved to Asia. Before that, we had spent several years participating in retreats, practicing yoga and meditation. That's how we left with our little baby. We left for good, not knowing where we were going or for how long. It happened that our journey started in Sri Lanka. Then it gradually moved into Thailand. There, we met teachers and Thai monks. They drew us deeper and deeper into these states. It was fascinating for us because we were simply following our curiosity.
We started noticing how practice affects your state, especially how valuable it is within the family and in parenting. How valuable is that pause between the reaction and what you actually say? You take time to consider, do I really need to say this right now? How will it affect the atmosphere? Do I even like the way I feel right now? Do I want to dwell in this resentment or in any other negative emotion? That's how we understood the immense value of managing your own state. And we wanted to share that with people. We wondered how we could tell people about it. Practice, asceticism, and silence, not everyone is drawn to that. So, we came up with performance art. We found a way to draw people's attention to their own state and how much a person's state can change just from the music and the voice they hear.
Essentially, every practice we've ever tried was connected to our attention. The most important thing is this. Everything we do is linked to our state. This goes for music, mantras, singing, gongs, or just talking. Our teachers and the monks taught us to transmit this meditative state. This means without words, but also through action. Whatever you are doing, you are always broadcasting your state. The viewers or listeners read it non-verbally, and they synchronize with it. Through this, you can remind yourself and others of something important and valuable, something that exists inside everyone. That inner state awaits silence and focused attention. It needs those things to unpack itself from within. Then it illuminates what is needed and important in that moment of life. This process happens in stages just as it did in my life and in ours. It seems all these practices allowed us to bypass the usual family crises. Everyone goes through them, especially with a small child. There are questions about money or what to do about work. No one ever taught us not school, nor our parents how to survive, how to build relationships. We hadn't even fully figured out who we were yet. There is a lot of psychology in this. But practices of attentiveness are precisely what allow you to get through all these family and life crises together. That's because attention begins to grow. It focuses not only on yourself, but on your partner too. Here, you start to see your own ego and your pride. Sometimes, it's a very subtle ego. Sometimes, it's invisible. In other words, I think we were lucky. Nadezhda and I went through all of this together. We changed together along the way.
I want to say that my family and I are currently at a similar stage. I completely understand what you are talking about. This is especially true during travel, and especially when such strong acceleration happens. We have also been in this state of searching for over 2 years. There's been a loss of many things that fell away from the past. Could you elaborate a little on the topic of these practices you mentioned? For example, I use quantum psychology, constellations, and modern integrative psychology. I work with a master. Can you share some of your tools? Because later all this is worked out as a real practice within the family. I can definitely say that I don't always manage it perfectly. It's a huge learning experience.
Our practices were mostly Buddhist. These are the classic practices of breath observation. Basically, this is the foundation of all foundations. It gives you the main skill, noticing your own state. First, we did this at Buddhist retreat centers Vipassana. That's when you are silent and observe your state and your breathing. Then we met a Thai Buddhist nun. Well, we should say she wasn't exactly a nun. In Thailand, women are not allowed to be ordained as monks. Only men can. Women can only serve in temples. She received her ordination in Burma. When she returned here, she continued her work, even though it wasn't allowed by the official rules. She started teaching us. This was based on the concentration we had already developed. She taught us these wonderful practices. For example, she showed us the state of neutral consciousness. It's a state that is difficult to explain. She simply showed it to us through direct transmission, just by being near her. In this state, you can look at life situations. You can examine situations where you wanted to change your attitude toward them. And when you look at that situation in this state, you can change your attitude instantly. It's as if you were back in the past. You can break down the situation and essentially change your reaction. It's hard to explain in words, but when you actually feel all this, it was just a miracle for us at first. Our states changed completely, and it felt so easy and so beneficial. For all the deeper practices with the nun, we mostly focused on loving kindness. We dedicated a lot of attention to that.
This is the most important practice. We essentially adopted it as the banner for our creativity. Love, in essence, is the main practice of our entire life. I think it is the main practice for our planet and for all humanity. Especially now, in times like these, we all know people are waiting for peace and waiting for prosperity. But essentially, we just need to radiate love. Every person on the planet should simply feel this love. And that is a practice. It's not just a memory. Nadezhda just described the practice of neutral consciousness. This is excellent for working with the past. Say someone has childhood traumas, or something is weighing them down. Maybe there are unresolved karmic knots remaining. In deep meditation, we sit down and recall all those situations. We recall the people, the unspoken things, the stories that surface like skeletons in the closet. By reviewing all these stories in the correct neutral state, we essentially rewrite the past. And that means we rewrite the present and the future too. In doing so, we essentially untie all those karmic knots. Nadezhda said it was hard to explain in words, but in principle, I've just said in my own way what she wanted to convey. Perhaps someone listening will understand what we are talking about, because I encountered a similar approach later in integral psychology. We know Sergei Kupriyanov. We attended one of his retreats, and he uses many things there that cannot be expressed in words. Specifically, it is the field presence of a person in the correct state, and that correct state is also love. It is this unconditional love that spreads out like radiation, like Wi-Fi.
I would like to make this more grounded. It's one thing when you already have this experience and you transmit it through your music. It is clearly audible. It absolutely pulls you into new and different states. For example, we have the Mettā practice in our app. At one point, a book came into my hands from an astrologer. I learned more about this practice from a Buddhist monk. But even with the knowledge he described, I didn't know where to start. I only recently found the answer in the book Buddha's Brain, the practical neuroscience of happiness, love, and wisdom. The book said that to start, you must begin with yourself. But I couldn't understand how to love myself, how to give myself love. I felt like I didn't know how. And there was this interesting tip. Just be grateful that you have a body and the ability to realize your desires in the material world. That's the first simple starting point. It helps me return when I feel insufficient or dissatisfied again. I would love for you to share your thoughts on this topic too.
You are right. Gratitude immediately brings you back to that state of self-love. Just waking up every day is, in principle, a reason for gratitude. It means we are still alive. We lose so many people during our lives, friends, and loved ones. We realize that life itself is the ultimate value that happens to us. So, for me, remembering that we are still alive every day is simply super gratitude. I can just thank life itself or God for the fact that we are continuing. This remembrance of needing to be grateful, you can say thank you for the body. But some people simply live in an immobilized body. We had a friend who was paralyzed for 20 years. He was a collector and a geologist. He had a magnificent library. Maybe he didn't thank his body, but he was thankful for life itself. He continued to gain knowledge in his immobilized state. He still received joy and various revelations. That's why the body is almost secondary. The awareness that we can continue, that's what matters. It doesn't matter if we have an illness or an affliction. If we continue, that is always better than death. Therefore, even if we are given pain, we can also be grateful for it. Pain definitely makes us stronger, if not wiser. We can see this in practices like standing on nails, for example. This simple pain eventually recedes when you don't run from it. Instead, you walk toward it. In these nail-standing practices, some stand for 20 minutes, some for half an hour. If you stay standing and don't step off the nails, you become greater than any pain. You can then dance on those nails and stand for an hour or two. The duration no longer matters once you cross that pain threshold. It's the same in life. I think loving yourself means being grateful for life. For me, that is the base level. Then this love, it expands to the unity of everything, so to speak. You spread that same gratitude to everything that surrounds you. That means people, animals, plants, and trees, even reality itself, countries, Thailand and Georgia. All of this surrounds us together at this moment. You can be grateful for all of it. And when you radiate this love, the source opens automatically. This happens if we are always focused on that gratitude. That is how it works for me.
Well, self-love also comes easier to me when I think of myself as a little girl. It's somehow easier. I literally picture myself as that child. I see her looking with her pure, sincere, and trusting eyes. These feelings immediately unpack inside. And from there, you can direct them anywhere you want. By the way, Buddhists advise recalling playing kittens or children. These simple things truly work without fail.
Well, that's my life hack. I later heard that some people do the same thing. I try to look at adults as children. Then my attitude toward them feels more correct. I don't notice their rudeness. I see people trying to elevate themselves because of their traumas. It means I stop feeling offended by things. When I look at all adults as children, and I really see the children in them, so much becomes clear. The communication and the relationship itself just seem to level out. And it's even more fun that way. If you like, you can use this trick too. Imagine I'm 6 years old right now. Nadezhda is 5. We are sitting in front of the camera, giving this interview. Boys and girls, it instantly makes you feel joyful.
I agree. That vision opened up for me a week after I gave birth. Before that, I definitely couldn't see the world that way.
The practice only came to me after my son was born. So, I also understand that it's probably harder to access that feeling when you don't have a child.
Many qualities are impossible to unlock without that experience. That is just another reason for gratitude, a smile, and loving kindness. Because children are, in fact, an extension of yourself.
I have had a question for a long time. I think it's quite unique that you have this established program. There isn't actually a huge amount of variety in it. It exists and it is stable. I, as a designer, want to create many projects. I want to try one thing, then a second, then a third. This is very untypical for me. Yet, I understand that your work is natural. It's the expression of the spirit through you. It is necessary if it continues to live and if there is a demand for it. But how does it unfold anew for you every time? The codes don't change, and obviously, mantras contain a sort of source code. And what else is there to invent? I understand that too. I want to understand from your perspective. How do you feel about this?
I am actually not a musician at all. I lived a regular life and worked in an investment company. When I met Grisha, I realized, wow, you can live like this. You can choose what you want to do and dedicate yourself to creativity. So, I came into music and started playing the gong intuitively. To this day, I don't fully know how to read music or anything like that. For me, music is completely intuitive reproduction.
That's why no one plays the gong better than Nadia does for me. But she is being a little modest. She played the damra as a child, and she was actually interested in music. It's just that everyone has different parents. They took me to music school, but her parents told her, well, that's not exactly what we need. They were simply far removed from music. Yes, music simply came into Nadezhda's life on its own. Regardless of what happened, Nadia is now on stage and working with sound. The fact that she's not a musician might even be for the best. It means she is more open to new experiments. Her subtle observation allows her to draw exactly the state of love from the gong. This fixes the consciousness of the listener and perhaps her own. We all remain in this magical state together. And it doesn't matter if it's a 10-year-old program or something new that just happened. Again, you started by asking, do we need variety? The truth is, since 2015, we have been touring in different countries. We perform the same show, a 1-hour program from the Sphere or in a planetarium. Many people have attended this program in different years, and more than once. And every time, they see something new. They are constantly surprised. You have something new, a new projection. You have new mantras. But it is all the same thing. It's just that attention is always at a different stage. Everyone draws something new from their own depth, and they see us in a new light. And perhaps we are not standing still either. We are going deeper. The music, the lights, the beautiful bright visuals, the stage, all this beauty it is, all there to draw our attention to the process. Perhaps before this, they did not have access to this quality of attention. The ability to look, listen, and observe how it is reflected in the body. Maybe the performances were created precisely for this reason, to draw attention to the practice itself, the practice of silence. And incidentally, many insights and ideas came out of that silence. Essentially, the way I perceive the world, all these insights, they came to me from silence. But it's hard to attract people to retreats. We tried just taking the simple approach and saying, let's sit and not move for 10 hours a day for 10 days straight. No matter how you package that event, it will always sound boring, especially when you first try it. I was lucky because I was following my own curiosity. I liked those states and those deep immersions. At one point, while sitting on yet another 10-day retreat, I had experiences where I dissolved into light. I actually thought I was going to die. I had experiences that are impossible to describe. You cannot unsee them. And this all happened on a completely clear consciousness. The meaning of all this was given to me by our teacher, of course. She told me that it was all good. I had seen how I could end my life. I had no desire to return to the world or even to make music. I was perfectly comfortable as I was. I had already seen my path. I knew that was fine for me, but my teacher told me, you must be useful to people. You must go back and continue what you are doing, but with this new understanding. So now we have returned from these practices, the retreats and the monks. We have come back to people. We want to show and tell them things in simple human language. We want even children to understand what we are talking about. We do this without moralizing or teaching anyone. We just do what we do. Our union, as a man and a woman, is especially successful at inspiring couples and families. Lately, there have been examples where we have strengthened families. They seem to get through a crisis, and children were born, and everything is still great for them. We aren't family psychologists, but we have this enveloping energy through our conversations and communication, and people get inspired. They avoid their crises, perhaps by looking at examples like us. And I like this too, because there is meaning in this as well, the meaning of being useful.
I understand now. The goal isn't entertainment or the program itself. It's what the program solves. You answered the question beautifully. Music and sound are vibrations. That's what everything around us is made of. You gravitate toward the frequencies you want to vibrate at. And the frequencies you have are the ones you radiate. That's what I hear in your words.
And the main point, of course, to summarize all our creative work, is our new album. It's set to be released literally any day now. We named it Mettā. The heart of this album is the song Sabesata. The lyrics were given to us by Ajahn Hubert, our friend. We've been friends for 15 years.
He gave us the words of the Buddha. These are the farewell words the Buddha left behind. It's guidance for people. It is a wish for all sentient beings, freedom from suffering, and wishes for health, love, and well-being. And that is the central composition.
Yes, we made it the central piece. And it's not a mantra, it's the Mettā Sutta. The album has 9 tracks, and we have 9 mantras. Most of them are actually available in Moonly. We packaged the album around the one thing that truly concerns us. Well, not concerned, but fills us up. What we want to convey, and what our planet and world need right now, is love. It's amazing that the whole album concept, we packaged it through love, through the mission of aurara. I sent this concept with a letter to several of the most famous New Age labels. One of them, a very famous English label, dating back to the 1980s, responded. It's a very conceptual and deep New Age label. They liked the story and the songs. Their only question was, how have you existed for over 10 years and never recorded anything? You haven't released a single album, only 2 tracks online. To that, we replied that all this time, we were focusing on offline events, retreats, and concerts. We have given over 500 concerts. And after 10 years, we finally came to the decision that we needed to record all of this as an album. As we recall, we had already recorded almost 40 mantras for Moonly. Those were more a cappella. And now we happen to meet music producers who are also ideologically committed to the work. The mastering was also done by famous electronic musicians in Berlin at Shanti Studio. Everything came together so miraculously. Now, this album will be released to the world. I would be happy if the more people who hear this album, the more people, I think, will feel what we are trying to talk about right now. They will feel what we put into it. The 2 musicians who worked with us on the albums, the music producers, are far removed from esoterics and from practices. They are electronic musicians. They are quite well known in their own right and very experienced. But while working on the album, they felt what we were talking about. I wouldn't say they were healed, but their states definitely balanced out. They slowed down. They genuinely enjoyed working on the album. For them, it wasn't just a musical exercise. It became a kind of spiritual practice, perhaps. It was amazing to watch the transformation over this year of the producers themselves who worked with us. It turned out that we signed a contract for 3 years and 3 albums. I think we will work with this same team on the next 2 albums. They expressed a desire to continue working with us, which we are happy about. And once again, the main thing in all this music will be love. The most important thing in relationships is love. And it turns out to be the same in sounds, in performances, and on stage. And that is why we named the album Mettā. May this love reach everyone. May it open hearts or other parts of the body. Whatever is hurting, let it be healed. This loving kindness will somehow integrate exactly where it is needed. It seems to know what needs to be unpacked in each person. We are merely the ones who transmit it.
Guys, I have one more interesting question for our listeners. Many of them are not yet familiar with your music. Why do you use the specific instruments that you do? Have you noticed anything interesting about how they affect your listeners? Or how they affect you? Are you getting any new discoveries or insights about instruments? Are any new ones appearing? And I want to talk a little about the voice, too. Your voice is also an instrument. What is your perspective on this? How do you feel it from the inside? What can you share based on your 10 years of massive experience? What feedback do you hear from concert and retreat attendees?
Our most important difference, I would say, our zest, is that we use the gong. Before this, I hadn't seen anywhere else where the gong was used as a musical instrument. The gong is not easily controlled. Its tonality, its sound, its notes. But somehow, Nadezhda manages to intuitively weave it into our music, just as she mentioned. This is the main calling card of aurara. People recognize us because of the sound of the gong, the voice, and the mantras. Well, we also have a whole component of light, video projections, and installations. We've touched on that, and we can discuss it more later. But essentially, we took everything that works, everything that has been proven. For example, mantras work, and they worked for me. I listened to them when I was doing cleanses, back when I wasn't singing mantras myself. I was fasting. I listened to the Om Shri Danvantra mantra. We later recorded that one for Moonly, and the health mantra is also on the album. I felt how this mantra set the correct focus of attention. There were things I didn't want to do, but I did them anyway for my health, for my body. We also saw how completely the gong captures attention in practice. That is why, in parallel with giving musical concerts, we also do gong meditations and gong performances. We use gongs during our retreats, when we hold those vipassana sessions where we simply concentrate and are motionless. We saw that gongs allow newcomers to quickly deepen their practice. This is because they affect not only the mind, but also the body. After a gong session, they can sit through longer sessions without moving. Their knees, lower backs, and spines don't hurt as much. After the gong, they feel like they've had a massage and are ready to continue. This instrument is not fully studied. People consider it a portal to another world. It's like we are not musicians playing the gong. We are an extension of the gong itself. And no two gong meditations are ever alike. We have our own style and our own framework for these performances. My interest has never faded because every gong meditation takes me somewhere new. I experience new states and new auditory hallucinations. We use two gongs. Nadja plays one, I play the other, and sometimes we switch. These two gongs also synchronize with each other in an interesting way. At some point they merge, and unusual voices and auditory hallucinations occur. They certainly happen for me. I'm sure people hear it too. It sounds like a tapestry of a song being woven from the blending of the two gongs. It feels like a prayer or a mantra. I feel that it's not just sound or noise. It starts to structure itself into certain patterns that are still worth studying. What is happening? And why does it affect people so deeply? Some people cry. Some cannot lie still. Some feel their limbs twisting. There are all kinds of reactions. Many people have gone through our gong meditations over the years. Science cannot explain all these wonders connected to people. Things like blood changes or hernias dissolving. You could remember many stories, and they all sound like fairy tales. But in reality, this happened to us and to people we know who attended our sessions. I joke and say, it's the placebo effect, because there is no magic, and science doesn't believe in magic, but science believes in the placebo effect. So that means it's the placebo effect, and therefore, miracles are possible.
And somehow, miraculously, the gong affects attention. Attention turns inward. I always felt it that way myself. And then people started talking about how clearly and purely they hear themselves. It is amazing how this works. It's unclear. Maybe it is somehow connected to our time in the womb. The gong resembles whale songs in some way. It sounds like being deep underwater. Maybe it connects to that early state of ours. It throws us back into a foundational state, I would say.
We have an idea to build not just a temple of sound, but specifically, for this temple of sound, to also be a temple of silence. It should be a deprivation pyramid, like a sensory deprivation chamber. It is especially hard to find a place of absolute silence in Asia. Everything here is so alive and moving. So, a deprivation chamber would not just be appropriate. It would be a true highlight of the region. You could create absolute silence and darkness there, and also set a comfortable internal temperature. And all of this would be done inside a pyramid. We remembered that when we recorded the gongs from Moonly, we recorded them inside pyramids built according to the golden ratio. The mysticism of all that, of course, was reflected in the gong recordings. We have videos and photos of us recording those gongs from Moonly. We want to build similar pyramids, but not like the ones in Bali. Those pyramids are mainly for entertainment. People go for a sound bath. We could make this not just a temple of sound, but truly a temple of silence. So people can come and fully immerse themselves in silence and darkness, to disconnect from our usual senses, to simply concentrate on your own consciousness, to see how, where, and to what extent your attention will move. With the right preparation, this attention freed from sounds, sensations, and visual anchors can be precisely directed into the necessary corners of our consciousness. And there you can work through those essential things which are unique to each person. I think a project like this would be very appropriate here in Thailand, where we are right now. In a week, we are launching an art retreat for teenagers here in Thailand. It's an art space. They will be drawing, sculpting, doing music, and also building. We will be building a sphere with our American friend.
We will be practicing on sacred structures.
Yes, on spheres. And we are involving young people. Our son and his peers, boys and girls aged 15 to 17, will be participating in this process. I'm generally happy that we've interacted with children all these years, both small children and older teenagers. I feel like I'm on the same wavelength as them. I want all adults to also synchronize with the younger generation and pay closer attention to children, because they are the wise ones. Their cleaner, less biased consciousness can perhaps teach us to avoid mistakes and somehow straighten out what has already been messed up. It is not for nothing that they say the future belongs to children. I see it that way too. That's why I feel very comfortable working specifically with children.
Guys, I have one more interesting question for our listeners. Many of them are not yet familiar with your music. If we talk about your music that is available online, the album will be released soon. And in Moonly, we have separate gong tracks, whole tracks with small meditative settings, with voice and separate mantras. We would like to give some guidance to the listeners. How and when can they use these? In what states? Should they stand or sit? What would you recommend?
I am for listening to the whole album. Find a comfortable, quiet place. For about 45 minutes, listen to the compositions one after the other, from the first track to the 9th, without interruption. By doing this, you observe your state. You see what emotions are unpacking and where it all will lead. This is a sound journey. All the tracks are arranged in a specific way to emphasize certain qualities. I have listened to this album many, many times. I can say that it may not unfold immediately, but over time, like a good tea. But it might also go straight to the heart from the very first time.
It's actually hard to give any advice because your attention will lead itself. We've seen so many times, with everyone we've given it to listen to, that their own individual processes are launched.
Our teacher taught us how to fight against the forces of evil, but we chose the universal weapon, love. And, in principle, with love, there is no longer any point in talking about struggle, because love is everything. Everything is contained in that one word.
There is even a phrase that says, "Loving kindness is the sword of the warriors of light."
Yes, that's exactly right.
That is correct. We have many wonderful cases, but that might be for separate broadcasts. How this practice works, how it works situationally, how it works at a distance with parents, with loved ones, and these things, to truly believe in them, you need to see how they work in life as a result. The best thing is to start with your family and close ones, those who really need love, and they are always nearby.
A beautiful conclusion. I am very grateful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.